whispering entertainment, 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 entertainment. Tonight's video is going to review the latest Friday night SmackDown episode from July 3rd. I hope you guys all had a very good 4th of July celebration. Sorry, this video is a little bit late because of the 4th of July. I was not able to record this until today on Sunday. I also have a new lighting. Instead of using the hi-hats in my ceiling, I have a lamp off to the side. We'll see. The bulb is too big for the lamp that I got, so the top of the bulb is sticking out, so I think it's a little bit brighter than I kind of wanted it. I wanted it to be kind of like a very soft light, but we'll get there. We'll get new bulbs for it. I do still think it's better than the bright, like everything bright. If you're trying to watch this video to go to sleep, right? But yeah, so let's get into the show. This this SmackDown was the first one going back to 2 hours. 2 hours. This was only a 2-hour show. So this is also likely going to be a shorter video. That being said, I haven't posted a SmackDown review to my channel yet. So we'll see. Also, it's a 2-hour show, and there were 2 segments that were just recapping what happened on Raw. Like the Hell in a Cell match, they did a video package for, and the Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns thing they showed and discussed as well. So it's a 2-hour show, but it's even shorter than that in terms of new content to talk about. But there's still plenty to yap about, so let's get into it. Of course, it's going to start with Sami Zayn, the new undisputed WWE champion. He comes out. He did get a mixed response. I was thinking he might get cheered more than booed. But I would say it was 50-50. I thought he would get more cheers than boos after that reaction at Night of Champions. Obviously, that was a hometown crowd, but just seeing the way that, like, everyone popped off for him and his limb laying in the crowd, it was a really nice moment. So I was wondering if that would buy people over, but it looks like they're still half and half on booing him. So his promo, he's saying that the people who are booing him now are the same people that wanted him as champion a few years ago. So he's talking about, the IWC, I would imagine, when he says people that want him as champion, because I could see that. I wasn't around at the time. I'm more recently back into WWE, so I can't verify if that's true, but I could totally see that, and I could see them booing it now, because I feel like it'd be like if LA Knight won a world title now, people would be happy, but they would also be like, it's too late, and you kind of fumbled the bag, so I feel like that could be the situation that Sami's referencing. And then, he's being cheeky. He's still doing some tweener, like, heel work, but not really being full, like, evil heel, but like a tongue-in-cheek heel, because he says he can tell the doubters to kiss his you-know-what, but he won't, because he's the last real good guy. So, kind of that kind of tongue-in-cheek, he's saying what he wants to say, but obviously he's a good guy, so he wouldn't say that. Cody comes out, and during Cody's entrance, it was actually weird to see him without the title. Like I said, I've been watching WWE again since January, and he hasn't been the champion the entire time, because Drew had it at Royal Rumble, but just seeing it without the title, in my mind I was like, whoa, like, that's different. So it just goes to show how long he's had the title recently. He's had 3 reigns. Yeah, so he comes out and he says he wants to be the first to congratulate Sami on his big win. And then that's all he says. He goes out to leave the ring, but Sami stops him. He's like, come on, Cody, we both know that's not the only reason why you're out here, because obviously he's the former champ, so he has the right to a rematch. As he's stopping Cody, and they're discussing the rematch, or hinting at it, they don't really use that word exactly, Jey Uso interrupts, his music hits, goes, ooh, so, right, and he starts coming out. Crowd's loving it. He doesn't go super crazy because, spoiler alert, there will be a Jey Uso match tonight, so I think he kind of leaves it in the chamber. He even says he's not going to run it back because this is about Sami right now, and we're celebrating Sami. But he tells Sami that this is his warning shot because he needs to bring that gold back to the family, to the bloodline, because that's what Roman Reigns wants. Sami tells both of them that, you guys are my friends. When Jey had the world title, Sami didn't go for it, and when Cody had the Undisputed title, Sami didn't challenge him for it either. So he's saying, you guys are my friends, you shouldn't go after my title right now, which obviously in WWE is not how things work. Everybody's going for the top at all times, so kind of a weak thing to say from Sami. But Adam Pearce comes out because Nick Aldis' storyline is still going on where he is on administrative leave. So Adam Pearce is the general manager for both shows, and he comes out and he says it is his job to find an opponent for Sami. And then Sami says, Adam, shouldn't I have some say in who I'm going to face at Summerslam? But Adam hits him with, who said anything about SummerSlam? So Adam is already going, hinting at the idea that the internet had already thought, which is that Sami's gonna have a short reign and not make it to SummerSlam as champion. Adam just goes out and says it. He's like, who said anything about SummerSlam? You're gonna have a match on Monday Night Raw against the winner of Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes tonight. He books a number one contender match between Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes, and the winner will face Sami Zayn on Raw for the Undisputed title. And, I get what he's doing. For me, if I'm the kayfabe upper management, I would be like, okay, so Adam Pearce is GM for SmackDown for one day, and he books an Undisputed title match for Raw. This guy's drunk with power. He wants his show. He's taking the best SmackDown guys, putting them on his show. What's up with that? But so we move on from that. There is what would you call it? A triple threat tag team or a 6-man tag? There's a 6-woman tag match of the team of Tiffany Stratton to Charlotte Flair and Chelsea Green against Jade and her minions B-Fab, and Michin. Before the match, Charlotte, Alexa, and Tiffany are all kind of beefing because Alexa's like, Charlotte, why did you not tell me you were going to go to Night of Champions and mess with Jade? And then Charlotte's like, well, you were teaming with Tiffany when I was injured, and it's silly. I don't know. Obviously, one of them's turning heel. I don't know. Their beef is kind of silly. But anyway, they have the match, and it doesn't really show up in the match. Any beef is not booked into the match. The match felt very quick for a 3 versus 3 tag team match. You have 6 people in the match, and only 2 of them are in at a time, so you would think that it should be a longer match, but it felt really quick for that kind of situation. Everyone got in, did their stuff, hit their common spots, and then it ended, When Chelsea got hit with Jaded, because that's how the finish is, Chelsea goes for the unprettier, so she's like in front of Jade, and then Jade kind of counters it, puts her up with Jaded. Chelsea does actually counter the Jaded, but then shortly after gets hit with it for real. And as she's getting pinned, I'm really expecting one of the teammates to break it up because, like, Tiffany and Charlotte were hit by the other people in the match, but it was like kind of a long time ago by the time Chelsea actually gets hit with the Jaded and gets pinned. So I didn't really, it just felt quick to me. As for booking, Jade needed a win, obviously. She's had a string of losses. But other than that, this match didn't really do much for anybody. Didn't really change much. There was a match. I think the title was on the line. The AAA Latin American title was on the line. Rey Fenix comes out. He's got like a whole new entrance. I was shocked they had pyro in his entrance. Rey Fenix has pyro now. I guess that's what you get when you're a champion. Even if it's a AAA mid-card title, you get pyro. I also noted Rey Fenix, his intro needs like an epilepsy warning because I'm like watching it on like a decently big TV, not like crazy, but pretty big TV, and I had to like cover my eyes and kind of like look through my fingers because it just kept flashing white like every 2 seconds. I was like, Jesus, this is blinding me. And I will say, I apologize to everyone who is a big fan of Vikingo or Rey Fenix. I skipped through this match. I couldn't do it. I'm not big into AAA, you know. I watch Raw, I watch SmackDown, I watch NXT. That's about the capacity. That's about as much as I can give to wrestling at this time. And it's like, I don't really care that much about the AAA mid-card title, so I skipped through the match. It's not like Vikingo's going to be a recurring character, right? So, sorry about that. I'm sure they hit some awesome spots. I don't know. Rey Fenix retained, though. I do know that. Because, of course he did. He's the WWE superstar, right? So he's going to win on the WWE show. After this match, there was a backstage segment. Julia's like getting interviewed, I think by Kathy Kelly, but I'm not 100% sure. Not important. She's getting interviewed, and she gets jumped by Blake Monroe. Blake Monroe like attacks her, and throws her into something backstage, and they get absolutely zero reaction. I don't know if this is one of those backstage segments that they don't actually show in the arena. But there was zero pop, there was zero nothing when Blake Monroe did this, attacked Julia. So that's not a great sign. I mean, it makes sense. A lot of people probably don't know Blake Monroe. For an NXT call-up, she wasn't as famous, famous is the wrong word, maybe, but she wasn't as over as Sol Ruka, who was in the Royal Rumble. I mean, JC Jane was in the Royal Rumble as well, even though people didn't really know her. But she got a bit of a easier time in, because they went after Paige when they first came in and not Julia, so that was something people cared about more. I was actually surprised that Blake Monroe even got called up, and then she obviously took the vacation, so she's going to need to start a little bit slower than the rest of the NXT call-ups, it seems. Then Jimmy Uso, Jacob Fatu, and Royce Keys have a backstage segment. And Royce is kind of like, Jacob, like, what's going on? You didn't even say hi to me. Like I guess Roman is just telling you who you can even talk to now. And Jimmy tells Royce to leave him alone because they have family business to take care of. And then Royce is like, family isn't by blood, family is by loyalty. And me and Jacob have been day ones, you know. But Jimmy just says, well, not anymore, and they leave, and Jacob doesn't even say a word during this entire segment. But yeah, so maybe Royce Keys will have a match with Jacob. Not sure. Then Trick Williams comes out. Trick Williams started doing this thing for his chant. He used to go like his hands up in the air, kind of like, what, that trick. And that was fine, but now he like kind of goes like that, and I just feel like it's a little vulgar. No, like what's he doing? Like, I feel like that's the only thing he could be doing when he's going, like, and I'm just like, is he allowed to do this? I mean, that's like Attitude Era type innuendo that he's doing right there. But he's been doing it for weeks, so I guess they don't care. I think it's a little strange. Anyway, he comes out, he does his entrance, and before he could even say anything, or Lil Yachty for that matter, could say anything, Carmelo's music hits, and he interrupts them. Carmelo basically just comes in and says, Ricky couldn't get it done, so, now it's my turn, right, to challenge for the U.S. title. He tells Trick that Trick is looking unstoppable right now, but that's just because Melo hasn't decided to stop him yet. So very confident. He says that Trick is treating this title as an accessory, for the glamour of the championship, but he's not treating it like a real championship. And how the U.S. title is a workhorse championship, and he is not treating it that way. It's for people who are hungry, but he's saying that Trick is very satisfied with where he's at. And all of this I feel like is fair. He didn't have the open challenge, he's only defended. Has he defended more than once? He defended against Ricky, obviously. I don't even remember if he defended against Melo yet. I mean, he couldn't have been more than twice. Which I guess he hasn't been champ that long, but when Melo had the title, he was defending it like every week, right? Because he had the open challenge. So, I mean, he's making good points about Trick. Being in it for the vanity. And in response to these solid points that Melo is making, he's cutting a decent promo. Lil Yachty just calls him short. That's all he's got. He calls him short, and he calls him small. Which, obviously, to Trick Williams, everyone is short, but, I mean, even Yachty is taller than Melo, so, I mean, fair enough, but it was just kind of funny that the difference in, like, thoughtfulness of the promos, of the sides of the promo. But basically, it ends with them saying he could have a match against Trick next week, but it is a non-title match because he has to earn a title opportunity. And then Trick goes to leave, but then he turns around and Trick slaps Melo. But then as they're leaving the ring, Melo comes in, does a suicide dive. It's like a front flip. I don't know exactly what it's called. I don't remember. Because it's not a swanton. Like, it is a swanton, but swanton kind of has a certain look to it. But it's like a front flip, and he lands on his back. Anyway, so yeah, Melo kind of stands tall in this. The segment ends with his music playing. Then we get a backstage segment with Danhausen, The Miz, Kit Wilson, who are, obviously, like, still recovering from getting shocked, and then Zack Ryder, aka Matt Cardona. I should have switched that, but it is what it is. They're referencing Zack Ryder a lot, as they've been doing, because The Miz and Kit Wilson, since getting shocked by Danhausen, kind of just hit old references. It's kind of like the bit that they're doing. And it's actually pretty funny. Like, obviously the saying woo woo woo, it isn't, it's like, okay, it's like kind of funny, but it is what it is. It gets stale. But as Danhausen and Matt Cardona are talking, The Miz just slowly does the bro fist bump thing. And I thought that was really funny because he's got like a deadpan expression and he's just doing the Zack Ryder, fist bump. Sorry, my nose is pretty itchy. I'm not sure why. Anyway, Danhausen announces basically to Matt Cardona that him and JD McDonough are going to have a match at Saturday night's main event at MSG. I mean, it makes sense for Danhausen to have a match at MSG considering his ties to the whole Knicks thing. Like, I'm sure he'll get a crazy pop at MSG and it makes a ton of sense. But, Danhausen versus JD McDonough, like, are we serious? That's Saturday Night Main Event. I haven't been watching wrestling too long, or recent modern wrestling too long, but it's just the last Saturday Night Main Event was kind of a dud, and now you have one at Madison Square Garden, so I'm thinking it's going to be, like, built up and be good. And then you have Danhausen versus not Dominic Mysterio, which I guess they just are protecting Dom, but still, it's not against Dominic Mysterio, it's against JD. Like, what? It's just crazy. He also was on the phone calling, like, a mystery person for backup, because obviously JD is the Judgment Day. So not sure what that's gonna be. I almost think it's gonna be like Jalen Brunson or something. Like I said, I feel like they're gonna go heavy into the Knicks thing, considering Fanatics Fest is the same day Saturday Night's Main Event, so I could see some Knicks players being at Fanatics Fest already, so they may as well come in and walk out with Danhausen. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm currently thinking. I don't know if that's crazy or not, but, you know. I mean, Dennis Rodman was in the NWO, and now he's in the WWE Hall of Fame, so it's not unheard of. Then there is a singles match between Brie Bella and Lainey Reed of Fatal Influence. There's a couple things. I haven't had the chance to talk about Fatal Influence on this channel yet. I liked Fatal Influence a lot in NXT, and I think they're doing pretty good in SmackDown, all things considered. I think JC has taken some losses. I mean, it's fair. I don't know. I just feel like JC has a lot of potential. So, you have Soul coming out here, winning titles, and then JC's like losing matches. It is what it is. But more importantly, they kind of need to fix their intro. They're in a tough spot with their entrance. I don't know, intro, entrance. I kind of use them interchangeably, but I know that's not correct. Nobody calls it an intro, but anyway, it's just stuck in my head. They have to fix their entrance because at NXT in the Performance Center, the ramp is much shorter than on SmackDown. So, and they've kind of set up their music cues this way for years to where they hit the middle of the ring at the right part of the song, right? And now the ramps are longer. So they've prioritized like doing the same movements over syncing to the music. Like Ricky Saints, for example, he kind of walks down the ramp and then it's kind of like, oh crap, like it's coming up to my part of the song, so he just runs into the ring kind of towards the end. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. So that he could hit his, his thing, his crowd interaction. I don't know what you want to call it. But for them, they don't rush their entrance to get to their spot because it's not as important as Ricky's thing. That's kind of his whole thing. They just kind of are standing in the ring at the like chorus of the song, right? Which it would be nice, but it's not super important. So they kind of do their intro anyway, like how they would normally, and then are just late to the ring. So I don't know how they could fix this. I don't know if they could add a little bit to the beginning, a little bit of filler to the beginning of the song, or like add something to it so that they can get to the ring at the proper like vocal line. But yeah, that's something I've noticed. And then the other thing, for this specific, that's just a general Fatal Influence thing that I've noticed. But for this specific match, they have Lainey in the middle because it's her singles match. But honestly, even if it's a Lainey singles match, they should just do the normal entrance, and JC should always be in the front. Just because she's the leader, she's the moneymaker of the group. She's the reason why Fallon and Lainey are on the main roster, because she is so good as a faction leader and a heel faction leader. So she should just be in the front, of anything Fatal Influence. I really don't care. Lainey has no character right now, which is her problem. Fallon is like the country girl, right? Lainey doesn't even have something as basic as that. She really has nothing. So she shouldn't be leading the group out, no matter what. That's my opinion. So as far as the actual match, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy in this match. They're kind of doing a spot where like Lainey hits her shoulder into the turnbuckle and Bree's like targeting her shoulder, but that doesn't even go anywhere. It like leads to there's no payoff to that. Basically, it's a very abrupt finish because nobody knows what Lainey's finish is, so no one's ready for the match to end. But basically, Fallon and Jay-Z attack Paige, which distracts Bree. So she like goes out to ringside to help Paige, and then when she comes back in the ring, Lainey hits her with a running knee, and then gets the pin, gets the 1, 2, 3 off the running knee to silence like shocked reactions, because nobody was like, maybe not shocked, because I don't even think people were invested enough to be shocked, but they're like, oh, I didn't know that was it. That was gonna be it. And even the commentators didn't do her any favors for the audience at home. They didn't like have a name for it. Like, obviously it's okay to have a simple finisher, like Trick just has a running, like, jumping knee. Like, you could have a strike finisher like that, but they didn't even have a name for it, so it really was just strange. And then side thing, I said it was okay to have a strike finisher, but actually I'm taking that back because JC already has the rolling encore, which just spins around and then hits the elbow forearm. I'm not actually entirely sure what it's supposed to be. I think it's just a forearm. Well, I think it's supposed to be an elbow, but obviously when she delivers it, she kind of straightens her arm out, so she hits with the forearm. But I just feel like two people in the same faction with a quick strike finisher, I don't know if that's too similar. Obviously she's doing a knee and JC's doing an elbow, but I don't know if that's a little bit too similar. Just the fact that it's so quick. Because I usually don't even like these kinds of finishers at all. I actually don't like the trick shot. I don't like the rolling encore, but I'm okay with it because I just like JC Jane. Just from her, she just has the presence, she has the charisma, and the mic skills that I could overlook the rolling encore, kind of similar to Trick. Although Trick has a manager now to speak for him, which is kind of interesting because I feel like Trick has his own aura. But anyway, so there's a backstage segment where R-Truth and Damian Priest are setting up a title match with the AAA tag team title holders, who were the War Raiders. And I just don't care about the SmackDown tag titles again. I'm sorry if you do. I'm not like super into tag teams in general. So like the B tag team titles, like I just can't care about it. I would say the world tag team titles on Raw, they're the A titles. I was interested in it, you know, like when Logan had it, Logan in Theory, I was into it, I was watching the matches. But the B titles, like the number 2 titles on SmackDown, it seems like they don't even care about it, because like what the heck is R-Truth and Damian Priest doing with like barely anybody to feud with? You know, they released the Wyatt Six, and then they just fought the MFTs 100 times, and now they have nothing to do, so they're bringing a tag team in from AAA to fight with them. So, I just don't really care about the SmackDown tag titles. They should go back to one tag team championship for the men the way they do with the women, in my opinion. But yeah, so sorry if you care about those titles. I'm not gonna... Like, if Damian Priest and R-Truth have a match with the War Raiders, I will not watch it. I'm sorry. Real quick, backstage segment with Finn telling Cody that he wants to fight him. So, and that he hopes that it would be for the for the championship, so he wants Cody to win so he can fight him, so that could be a match coming up. And then Tama, after he talks to Cody, Cody walks off. Tama Tonga walks up to him and is talking to him, kind of distracting him, because Tonga comes up behind Finn and they jump him. So Finn's gonna be feuding with the MFTs. Okay, sure. Yeah, I don't care much for the MFT either. I guess it gives Finn something to do where he get some wins and then maybe go for a world title later down the line. So now we have the main event. I was just checking the time. We have the main event of Jey Uso versus Cody Rhodes in number 1 contender match to face Sami on Monday. So quick turnaround here. Jey Uso has his normal entrance. I did want to talk about Cody's entrance though. When Cody does the first whoa on the entrance ramp, they always cut to the crowd doing it. And I just feel like this is a mistake. If you're new to the WWE, you're watching this for the first time, Cody's about to do something. It feels cringe to say do something cool because all he's doing is like this, but he's hitting his signature pose. And you cut away from it and cut to the crowd, and not everyone in the crowd is doing it, and it doesn't look the same. So if you're a new fan, you don't know what everyone's reacting to. You haven't seen it because they cut to the crowd every single time, 100% of the time. So I'm just picturing imagine you've never seen Cody Rhodes. You just wouldn't get what's going on, I feel like. Aside from the fact that the music says whoa, right? And also just let the wrestler do it. I'm trying to think. Let me think of a good example. Imagine Randy Orton goes up on the ropes and he does his thing and they cut to the crowd and they cut to random people doing this instead of him doing it. It's just not the same effect. But anyway, moving on to the actual match. He also, before the match, he didn't get his second pyro on the turnbuckle because he already had the first entrance at the beginning of the show, so I guess it's too hard to reload the top fireworks. So he only had one pyro during this second entrance, which was also kind of weird. I've never seen that before. During the match, it was pretty standard, I wouldn't say it was short, but just nothing crazy happened. They hit their signatures. They had the Uso splash. They had a spear. They had a crossroads. A Cody cutter. Everything's getting hit. Jey actually hurts himself after a suicide dive. And I think that might have happened during a commercial break, because I don't remember seeing it, but I remember hearing Michael Cole and Corey Graves say it, and then seeing Jey kind of favor his ankle and limp a little bit. And I don't think it was a work, because it's not like Cody ever targeted his ankle after this to do the thing where they take advantage of the injury. It was just every now and then Jey would kind of limp a little bit or favor his ankle a little bit. So I do think that he was just going through the pain and that it wasn't actually supposed to happen. Let me give my left side a little more love. I feel just a little more comfortable speaking from over here, but I think I do that too much. So he hurts his ankle, but it doesn't impact the match at all. They all hit their stuff. One thing that did surprise me, Cody actually hits Jey with a spear, which wasn't what surprised me, but he hits it with a spear and then into a crossroads right after, and then Jey actually kicks out, which I know people kick out of one crossroads, but I didn't think on a SmackDown match that Jey Uso would get to kick out of a crossroads. So yeah, that was I didn't expect him to kick out of that. They have this very awkward spot towards the end of the match, which is tough because it was towards the finish. They do the classic spot where someone is holding the other guy, like they're behind the other guy and wrapped around his waist, kind of like German suplex position. They run into the ropes and then kind of roll, but do a back roll and then are into like the pin, right? But Cody like rolls all the way through it. I don't know who this is on. Obviously everyone thinks it's on Jay because that's just kind of the history. But so Cody rolls all the way through. And then now like Jay is still behind Cody and he's like holding on to his arm and like his waist, and then they kind of like just awkwardly go backwards to the corner. And like Jay's arm is like across Cody's face, almost like he's trying to crossroads. Like it just looked really bad. And I think the fact, like what made it worse was that immediately after they kind of break up in the corner, Jay goes for a clothesline and Cody catches it and hits the second crossroads for the pin. So I think that kind of ruined the finish, whatever was supposed to happen got botched there. And it kind of messed with the finish. But yeah, so that's how the show ends. It's gonna be Sami Zayn versus Cody Rhodes on Raw for the title. On Raw tonight because it's actually 1 a.m. Unfortunately for me, it is 1 a.m. right now. So it is actually Monday, so that match will be happening tonight. That'll be cool. I'm excited for that. Could this be a repeat of Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes, where Drew takes it off of him on a weekly show? It could be. I would assume that Sami could hold the title for longer than a week. You know, that would be kind of brutal. 0 defenses. You know, it's his first defense. He won it on Saturday, and then next Monday he would lose it. I don't think that's going to happen. I would assume that Sami will win this match. If he's going to drop it, he's got to drop it soon. I was just looking down at the date. It is July 6th. SummerSlam is August 1st. So maybe next week you would probably have to lose it by for them to have enough time to kind of have a new champion kind of feel right for SummerSlam. But also I feel like Cody walking into SummerSlam as champion is the end game. So if he does lose this, I don't see how he could get another title opportunity in the same, like 3-week span, month span. So maybe it won't be Cody at SummerSlam, like I originally thought. But yeah, so I expect Sami to win on Monday. I'll be pretty surprised if he lost it already. But it does feel very Drew McIntyre-ish. But Drew McIntyre got a month or more. He had the title match with Sami at Royal Rumble, where he was able to defend it successfully. So Sami should probably get something like that. Not on a PLE, unless he takes it into SummerSlam, but people don't think he will. But I do think it gets more and more likely because it seems like they're not doing the Brock Lesnar thing, even though they should do the Brock Lesnar thing, because that would be really cool for the Oba Brock Lesnar match to be for the title, and for Brock Lesnar to have had to earn the right to face Oba rather than the other way around. But Brock isn't going to be on SmackDown winning the WWE title and then wrestle Hell in a Cell like 2 weeks later at SummerSlam. It's just too much for him. Not that he couldn't do it, but that he wouldn't do it. Like, too much for how much he's been showing up. So I don't think Brock is in the running for the title. And then if it's not Cody, then I feel like no one could take it before SummerSlam. And like, who else is in the picture? It's like Gunther. But then Sami could like face Gunther at SummerSlam, maybe. I don't know. Drew McIntyre could always come back, but last time he was in WWE, he lost to Fatu. So he can't just come back and get a title shot either. He'd have to work his way up, so it's looking like Sami Cody Part 2 at SummerSlam or Sami Gunther at SummerSlam. That's what I'm seeing right now. But we'll see. Alright, we've hit the 40-minute mark. I've got to go to sleep. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for spending your time with me. Let me know if these whispers are hitting for you, you know. Let me know how I can improve my presentation at all, my audio. Yeah. I'll see you guys for the Raw review. That'll probably be out on Tuesday night. That's my goal. There may be some non-wrestling content on the channel coming up because I do have a trip coming up. And in my head, I'm gonna be able to pre-record some videos for you guys. We'll see. I can't promise that. But that's what I would like to do. We'll see if I have enough time to do that. With work and everything. But yeah, WWE Championship match tonight should be fun. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.